I learned, I'm getting to the auctions. This does have a point, but I learned early on, like my job as a meteorologist, as a TV host, is to break down any barriers. So I take that to the stage. Like, I don't want to be like, it's me up here in a gown and high heels and you peons are beneath me. I want to ingratiate myself to the audience and I want to become one of them as quickly as I can.
Hey everybody, before we dive into the video, the HGA production team has a favor that they want me to ask you. You know how crazy we are about putting out the greatest fundraising content that we possibly can. Great episodes, great guests, amazing content that you can't find anywhere else. Well, show us some love, like the video. It takes 2 seconds. It's gonna keep motivating us to put out the best fundraising content that we possibly can. Show us some love, like the video. But so you have quite the resume. So I met you essentially, or found out about you through your TEDx talk, which was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that a little bit, introvert, extrovert, all that good stuff. It was really good. I recommended it quite a few times. Erin Kienzle, so TEDx speaker, keynote speaker. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur, former TV reporter. Or are you still doing that?
I still host a morning show in Charleston. Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So you live in a really cool city. Got that going for you. Mother of 4. Did I already mention that? And then you're a fundraising auctioneer, giving for good. And then another thing is what caught my attention was activate your influence with video. And I want to get into that too, of course. But these are all the things that you're doing. So anyway, Erin Kienzle, thanks so much.
It's like a normal Monday.
Thanks so much for making us all look bad. Like we're not doing enough. No, I'm messing with you. I'm messing. You're obviously you're an overachiever, and we're so grateful to have you on Hey Nonprofit. So thanks so much for coming. Really, really.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be here and hang out with you.
Okay.
We just met a few weeks ago, but I feel like we're old pals. So glad to be here.
No one said that before. Hey, I'm just excited. Look how red I'm getting. Yeah. I'm just excited to come hang out with you. Oh, well, thanks so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, it's a great spot to hang and chat and talk about fundraising and what have you. But, you have just this breadth of experience in so many ways. And how long ago did you start giving for good, for instance? Talk to the audience a little bit about what you do with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I went to auction school way back in 2018, but it was never really my focus. I was working for someone else at the time, and it was kind of just like doing occasionally when I could. And then my life changed when I went to BAS with the National Auction Association in Las Vegas. Right. And it was the first time I'd met like another female auctioneer live in person. And she said to me, "Do you know what's possible?" And I said, "No, I have no idea." And she said, "Well, I'm going to tell you what's possible." And I went home and I was like, all right, we're going to do this like officially. And I started giving for good. It's only been like a year and a half since we formally launched.
That's awesome.
So I hadn't had examples of, a lot of other fundraising auctioneers, and I was missing out on a lot without knowing those wonderful people.
Yeah, you get exposed to a lot. I mean, we got in with that group very, very early on, and we started the company almost 9 years ago. And the kindness that has been exuded upon us as a company and me personally, and the friendships and dining and, breaking bread with fundraising auctioneers and the entire group, they've always been really, really lovely towards myself and to HGA in general. So obviously
they're an amazing bunch of people. I mean, it takes an amazing person to stand on stage and ask people for money, to start with that.
I'm terrified of it. And we all know how difficult fundraising is.
Just like the warmth. I mean, I don't know other industries that are so warm and willing to share information and answer questions and say, this is working for me, this isn't working for me. Like, we all just want everyone to raise as much as possible. So there's no gatekeeping. And I've made some wonderful friends. Yeah,
I love that. And the folks that we've been, like I said, that we've been exposed to in the space, just lovely. It seems like we're all pulling in the same direction. And if we cross paths and get to work together, it's amazing. Do you mind, if you don't mind, and if you're not comfortable sharing, that's fine. Who was the person that said, "Hey, do you know what's possible"? Who was it?
Trisha Brower of Taking Goods Fundraising.
Yeah, Trisha's a sweetie pie. Yeah, that's awesome. We worked with her before. I've known Trisha for a long time. Yeah, she's a great fundraiser, a great auctioneer.
And Trisha came from a marketing background. So I think that's what resonated with me, that she had done that for years before she got into auctioning.
So like your dad didn't need to be like a world champion cattle auctioneer to be a good auctioneer, a good fundraiser.
Yeah, I definitely don't come from an auction family.
Yeah, I got it totally. Yeah, so many folks do and some folks don't. And
yeah.
So now that you've been, you decided to put, pen to paper, so to speak, and put together the plan, for Giving for Good and all that. And then, talk about what you've learned. And I don't mind just being candid, like how your approach is different, because I just believe differentiation is so strong when it comes to how we all fundraise, and we can pull from each other collectively is how I look at it. Right. So
yeah, I agree. And I think we all do things differently. And at least I'll say in my market, this is going to show how stupid I was, but I don't come from an auction family. We don't have auctions in Charleston, South Carolina. Like, an auction school was my first cattle auction, my first car auction. I was like, what is happening? Yeah. So I had no idea that benefit auctioneers had what we call ringmen or bid assistants at events, because we don't do that in Charleston. Like, there's no one yelling in the crowd. Yeah. So after I learned that from other auctioneers, I came home and realized what value it would be for me of having professionally trained eyes and ears on the floor. Mm-hmm. So at first I was like, well, where do I find these people? Yeah. So basically they were my friends. My husband does it. He's since been to auction school. But nice. I think that was my first step forward, having myself on stage. But man, they increase the bidding. Our data shows 10 to 20%. They make it more fun. They bring the energy. They help me immensely. And then also I didn't think about this until later, but the feedback I get. There's so much that we miss during the event that later on they can say, oh, well, they said this about this package, or they liked this, or they didn't like this. So it's just a ton of data for me to take back to the clients that they hear during the event.
I think that's great. I think it's great feedback. You said a couple of things that are very, very interesting. They're very top of mind lately because, we're both involved in event fundraising, right? And you said fun. And you said just more fundraising, it sounds like a team, it's or an energy, pardon me, another big piece of that, another, component of that. That's a massive, speak to that a little bit. And of course, what you do is bringing fun and bringing energy, and you can do that as a team, and just talk to what you see and, and how vital that is for events, and creating a situation where folks want to come back too, not only to give, but a great hang, right?
When people come up to me after an auction and say, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that, and you made it fun, that's the biggest compliment that I can get. And I think this comes from my TV background, that, television is very weird. People don't watch it like they used to. Right. I've been in TV over 20 years. So I come from the days where people would wake up with me, right? I did the morning weather for a decade. And they felt, you'd be at the grocery store and people would say oh my gosh, I love the story about your dog and this and that. And it was very weird as far as the closeness that they felt, because I was in their living room every day. Right. So I learned, I'm getting to the auctions. This does have a point, but I learned early on, my job as a meteorologist, as a TV host, is to break down any barriers. So I take that to the stage. I don't want to be it's me up here in a gown and high heels and you peons are beneath me. I want to ingratiate myself with the audience, and I want to become one of them as quickly as I can. Yeah. So there's strategy. I always say close the gap and break that barrier within seconds of stepping on stage is my goal, and when I step on stage as a woman, I can tell they're looking me up and down. I have to get over there. Do they like my dress or not? Men don't have to deal with that. But that's step one, the instance analysis, and then having my team on the floor. So the audience is taking me in, but then having an extension of myself out there, high-fiving them, fist bumping them, playing with them. That creates the energy and the whole experience that we're all in this together.
Yeah, no question. Once again, team.
Is it connecting from TV, breaking down the barrier to on stage? Because that's just how I see it. We're
not
trying
even
to
a
melt.
question. Yeah, not even a question. And I was going to ask you just pointedly. What do you enjoy more?
TV
what do you enjoy
auction?
more? TV, being behind the camera, or being on the stage and raising money in your gown.
I love being on the stage.
Okay. All right, cool. That's awesome.
It's so, and I think I've been doing TV a long time, so I've seen a lot of changes, and right now, the auctions are fresh, but how does that not feel good to do something amazing? And the 30 minutes that we're up there, and that each weekend we get to help a different cause. Talk about having a purpose in your life.
It's so noble. It's so noble. I was having a conversation. I might have already shared this on air, but I know you can relate to this. So I got to a point where I was just oh gosh, there's so much coming at me, or maybe I'm playing so much defense. I just got to I was going to hit my point, and I have to go and I'm very optimistic. I just wake up happy every day. It's just, this is the way
Yeah.
how I am. And for better or for worse. And I was like, I need to just go for a walk, get outside. So I go for a walk, and don't bring my phone with me. I find myself doing that a lot lately, where I'll just go for a walk, no phone, come back, and maybe even like write down what I was feeling or the myriad of thoughts that went through my crazy racing mind. One of the really, really profound thoughts that I had recently was, hey, I love being in business, and you're a for-profit company. We're a for-profit company. And no matter what, we would have to be in business, or I would have to be running my own business in some capacity. The fact that we get to do this and run a company, which I believe is such a noble enterprise, is running a business and doing it well and growing and things like that. I think there's a lot of nobility there. But we could be selling, and I made a joke. I said, I love music. We could be selling CD Walkman. We could be selling vinyl records, and it would still be great. We'd be in business. It'd be fun. I love music. But the fact that we get to do this is such a privilege. I'm not trying to be cliche. It's just, we run a family business. So I immediately told my brother-in-law, who's across the hall from me. I immediately told my partner, who's 2,000 miles away.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. So that was a long antidote to put some punctuation on what you're talking about. It's just such a great. It
really is. And I recently I have another woman that recently went to auction school and is like dipping her toe in the water and has done a few events.
Yeah.
And to have her like thank me. And I'm not looking for thanks, but tears in her eyes to say, you changed my life by putting me on an auction stage. I was like, whoa, but that's how she feels, to suddenly find that purpose and stand up there and raise, much needed money for this new small nonprofit. I mean, it's awesome. Like the ripple effect to teach someone else how to do it.
I think it's so cool. I'm going to go backwards though. You said fun, you said energy, the team, all this. And, we're talking about raising money for organizations where the mission can be really, really heavy. We could be raising money for children's oncology. We could be raising money for anti-trafficking, all of these different organizations. But we are talking about this a lot lately. And I think there's a reason why. It's because the world's telling us something, that no matter how heavy of a mission that we're serving, given the organization, we do have to keep the excitement and the fun. And we need to make sure that maybe every now and again there's not a dry eye, but we don't need I like to say, we don't need folks leaving completely dehydrated because they've cried their last tear and they don't want to revisit that experience again next year. Like we want to create a situation, an atmosphere.
Valid point,
yeah. Talk about that a little bit, because you're up there on stage and your team's getting everybody hyped, to give and what have you.
Yeah. So I personally like to do the paddle raise first, and that just comes to, attention span, and we've got them seated and we're going to get the most money in the paddle raise. So to me, you have like that story crescendo of like the welcome to the event, the storytelling of the nonprofit. This is who we are and this is what we do. And then we have that critical speaker or video that plays before the ask. And that to me is like the discomfort. That's when you present the problem, we agitate it. Like, I did a sex trafficking event recently, and there was a speaker and it was painful, and you can't, at an event, you can't like live in that pain. So like, I'll see it from stage. Everyone's feeling it and some people are crying. But then the story arch has to switch to here's the pain, here's the problem, but you have the opportunity right now in this moment to do something about it. And how great is that going to feel if you can be a part of this movement to making a difference? So that's how we switch from discomfort really heavy to, wow, now we're happy again and increasing the energy and we're changing lives.
It's a really interesting balance. That, that equation that you're talking about, making sure that you don't, like you said, you agitate it, but then you don't cross the line.
And even sometimes in the paddle raise, like it's a very heavy moment. And I've learned too, like I'll say, I have one or two lines and it's always testing, like, do I say it tonight or not? But sometimes like I say it just because I can tell they need a moment to laugh. Like they need that release. It's been so heavy. Like I need to say something that allows them to be like, okay. And that's just kind of like case by case,
Yeah, you got to feel it. I say this, I find myself saying this a lot too. It's like every event is so unique and has its own atmosphere.
And year to year. I just did one that was like completely different from the way it was last year. Last year, we're quiet and respectful. And this year they're like loud, not paying attention. Like, what's going on?
A little buzz, a little mildly obnoxious.
They drank a little longer this year. That's what it was.
Yeah, I got you. You said something interesting. You said 30 minutes, and you were talking about, you like to do the fund and need paddle raise, and then I'm assuming, your specialty is also the live auction and what have you, and consulting and all these things. You said 30 minutes, and it just popped out in my mind. It's like, we call it the golden hour of fundraising. You don't have very long. So talk to that point about run of show, how vital it is, the consulting that you do with organizations, just to really understand that, like, we have the attention span of gnats. We are, it's a very unique opportunity you have to get everybody in the same room one night, even though we have software and folks can bid from, afar, but, how important is it just to cue into that time, not deviate? It's huge, right? Like,
right. And I don't want to be on stage for an hour. Like, I was on stage an hour Saturday night, and I was like, man,
I only have 20 minutes material myself.
I'm like, please bid so we can end this live auction.
Yeah, totally. I got you.
I think everybody, all my auctioneer friends, we're all seeing the same thing, where events are becoming shorter, and we're going in and we're getting to that ask faster. I like to do the paddle raise first, because my data shows, like, if you have a healthy event, I'm using air quotes if you can't see me.
No, totally.
The paddle raise will have a 60% participation rate. When
you say healthy event and 60%, embellish a little bit, please.
So if you have a total number of guests is 300, I'm going to divide that by 2, because most people come as couples, right? So then I have 150 units or wallets in that event. So when we go through each level of the paddle raise, of those 150 wallets, if 60% give, I give your event like an A+. Like, that's pretty good.
Far out.
I mean, I have some events that have like a 95% participation rate. It's crazy, but 60 is kind of my guideline. I have others that are like hovering around 34, and they have like a lot of sponsor tables that don't fill it with the right people. There's a lot that goes into like that participation rate.
Yeah.
But the paddle raise is an all-inclusive moment of giving. It gives everyone an opportunity to raise a paddle and feel good. So I like to start with that. When we go to the live auctions are becoming shorter. Like, we used to have 10 to 12 items. Now I used to say 3 to 8. Now, like, I'd say we're hovering around 6 is the average with my clients.
Fair.
And during a live auction, 5 to 10% of people are going to bid. Most of your audience is not going to participate. So that's why I like to do that later. So if they have to go to the bar, go to the bathroom, go home for the sitter, we've already scraped as much money as we can out of the room.
Hey everybody, if you're enjoying the video, do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button. It's going to do a couple things. It's going to allow you to stay in the know with fundraising information, and 2, allow you to stay up to date with fundraising events that you can participate in. Now, back to the video. I got you. And talk to me about what you're seeing, just because it's the space that we're in, right? And the conversation that we have daily, all of us. Talk to me about like what you're seeing with the live auction, and obviously it's different with every single, event, but what are you seeing trends wise and things like that?
Yeah. So this, just to reference this fall, it's been tricky. Like, our live auctions have been down considerably. Okay. Paddle raises have still been record breaking. So I find it curious. I mean, maybe we're just not selecting the right stuff. Also, you have an election. We're also in South Carolina, where we recently have given so much aid to our friends in North Carolina. So we all know that plays a part in the events that I've done recently. I never want anything where they can pull up their phone, A, which is a distraction, but B, I don't want them to be able to search like the exact retail price of something. Like, it needs to be like one of your trips, like something that I can't curate that inspires them. Like, you have to get it right now. I love a mission focused auction item, if you can tie it to the mission. Cool. Right, those still do well. Our hottest item for the last year has been the personal chef experience for 6 people, 10 people, whatever it is. Like, that's always been a good seller, most over retail value.
Especially in your neck of the woods, where it's just such like everyone's so cute in gastronomy and food and what have you.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. And those are things that you can procure very, very easily on your own with a very focused committee, right? Good event 101 stuff. I want to definitely get to. I want you to share some insight into your TEDx talk about being an introvert, because I want to ask you about standing on stage and fundraising, which is so hard, and then being an introvert and being so much in front of the camera your entire life. That's different. That's awesome, but a head scratcher because you're so good at it, right? But before we get there, talk to me a little bit, and if there's any way that we can weave this into nonprofits telling their story sharing their mission. But,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about activate your influence with video. Now, it's a
Mm-hmm.
for-profit company. You do a lot of consulting. I'm assuming you work with a lot of like for-profit companies about utilizing video to tell their story. But
Yes.
or am I completely off?
No, I teach mostly service-based entrepreneurs. I live heavily on Instagram, although I'm trying to figure out LinkedIn right now.
Yeah, you're doing okay. Yeah.
LinkedIn is an enigma. I don't know what, I don't get it.
It's
But
still maturing. Frankly, it's still maturing if you ask
yeah,
me. Yeah.
but like, so it used to be the ones with the power as far as like visibility, people on TV. Like if you wanted visibility, you had to get what we call traditional media or press. And now, I mean, you can do with your phone. Anybody, Joe Schmo, can have 1 million followers. Like it's fascinating to me. So I like teaching people who are of our generation who weren't born with phones in our hands, and it feels uncomfortable to stare at the phone and talk to it and hit record, to show them just by doing that occasionally, like there's immense power in that, because still the majority of people aren't doing that. And just to show your face on social media and start sharing your message that way, wow, you can really, build your brand, grow your following. And then in turn, I'm also helping nonprofits as an attention getter. Like we need to add more videos to your events. It's like the TikTok generation. If you have younger people coming, we need to keep them engaged visually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Keeps them engaged. Can also segue into giving them opportunities to give quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And without any friction. I think it's lovely. Yeah. We've had multiple conversations with folks about maybe like the missing ingredient being having someone forward facing to tell your mission story and what have you. So I just think it's a conversation that needs to keep happening, right? There's just too much opportunity to get the story out there.
And I hate on social, a lot of times we don't see like the faces of the organization.
Oh, that's a problem. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Like there's just such great and look, a lot of it is time and execution, like content
and
is no
fear
joke.
and insecurity and all these things.
But I just look at it as like there's so many missed video opportunities. Like I did work with someone that she does a nonprofit. Her child had cancer and started the nonprofit for this extremely rare form of cancer. And she goes on and no edits, just talks, terrified. And by doing that, it gets new eyes on it. I mean, it doesn't go viral or anything, but another mom whose daughter was just diagnosed found that video and was able to reach out to her and get help. And that's, even if it's just one person, it worked. Like your mission was amplified just by hitting record.
I think it's such an underutilized. We keep saying, we've said it for years, the most powerful fundraising tool that you have. I'm holding up my phone. Typically has a shiny apple on the back. If you're not, no offense if you don't, but the most powerful fundraising tool that you have is your phone.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you can turn it into that kind of a vessel for storytelling. Right. A very underutilized, undervalued approach that needs to twist the dial on that and keep having that conversation for sure.
You and I talked before about with the live auction items, if we use one of your trips, like I love companies that have videos, because guess what? I can sell it much better on stage if it's already been posted on social, if it's been in an email blast, if it's playing on the big screen behind me as I describe it. Like we're just touching more senses that they're more apt to bid.
That's where the world is. You know what I mean? So why fight it? I totally agree. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's true. It's such a worthwhile investment. And we always say, hey, if you need to start advertising for your event, or you need to start selling tables or sponsorships or all the above, there's probably someone on your committee or someone associated with your organization that knows a 19-year-old that just rocks on TikTok or something, right? It's just such a small world. There's 0 degrees of separation. So we're just like, you can hire someone if you want, more power to you. You should, but there's someone that can speak to your mission. Right. We've even like coached up, committees and board members to send video messages to folks that they're asking for sponsorship.
I love video messages.
It's like, hey, we start by doing this, and here's the blueprint. But we start by saying, hey, make sure everyone can say your mission's marketing message in 10 words or less. And then it's all the same. Yeah, you can use this one if you want. No.
I love it. I love it.
It's your mission's marketing message in 10 words or less. So if you can tell folks what you do in 10 words or less, great. Now get everybody, the board, the committee, the development director, the CEO, everyone on staff, all the volunteers, everyone's going to be associated with it. Get them all saying the same 10 words or less, or, what would they call it back in the day? An elevator pitch, right?
Right.
And then you can also really help by doing a video message or a text message with that marketing message, and inviting people. We're not big believers in asking. We're big believers in inviting.
Yes. That's what I say during the paddle race. I know, invite you.
I think it's great. I just think, there's so many things like that are just like low hanging fruit. It's like a simple twist of the dial or just a vernacular change, right? That can have such a huge impact. So
people just need to be asked, just because someone has money doesn't necessarily they're going to give at your event, but it could be something as simple as a text or an ask to make them feel seen and wow, like I can make a difference too, that, then they donate.
There's that. And there's also the fact that once again, just I'm not trying to one up you, but hey, maybe asking them for feedback because they're not only donors, they're investors. They're investing in the success of your organization. So their feedback is vital, right?
100%.
And I think that we turn the page too quickly on moments like that where we can actually ask people for their input. It's not even ego that would dictate that they want to give their input. They've deserved it and they've earned it, right?
Yeah.
So
and also video is thank yous. I've just started. Have you heard of BombBomb?
No.
I just learned at a conference. It's software where you can record video messages really easily from your desktop. But now I'll send like a 30-second video message to my clients post-event. And it's another touch point. They watch them. It's very powerful.
We're not investors in BombBomb, but we should.
No, I'm not.
I should put that in the show notes is what I'm going to say. Yeah.
BombBomb. It's awesome.
BombBomb. Yeah. Well, will you, we got to share that with me though. Actually, I want to utilize that. I think our whole team. Yeah. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. I don't have any trepidation on video anymore. I hired a speaking coach. I think I told you that last time, and I'm starting to speak in 3 weeks. As a matter of fact, I've done some speaking.
Yay.
I had some, and I am actually an extrovert. You are a self-proclaimed introvert, and you've discussed it at length. And check out Erin's TEDx talk. It's TEDx Charleston, I think is the easiest way to find it. So good. And your story about, your safe place was locking yourself in the bathroom and all these things. And I don't know, that's really rude. I'm sorry.
Thanks. I'm a weirdo after I've done that. It's true.
No, but it was fascinating because you are so, out there and it doesn't seem like you have any fear or trepidation. So do me this favor, if you don't mind. I mean, if there is, if someone, I don't know, they could be, once again, a service-based entrepreneur or someone running a mission or starting their own nonprofit because of some illness, God forbid, right, to family or a child, how could they get over the fear of fundraising? It brings people a lot of anxiety. People don't wake up, in the morning with a burning desire to start asking people for money. But one way to go about that would be, once again, getting on stage, putting yourself out there, turning the video, the camera around and telling that story. Leave folks with something that they could rock with, that could get them over the hump or nudge them a little bit.
I think it's like sales, right? It's a numbers game. Like the more people you present your sales pitch, the more things you sell. I think fundraising's the same. The more people you ask, the more success you'll have. You just have to disconnect it's not personal. And it took me a while to if I try to sell an auction item and no one's bidding, or if I do a paddle raise and it's a complete flop, I still, sometimes I beat myself up, but it's not personal. It's not me. It's because they're not right or the event wasn't timed correctly, so you just have to detach that personal aspect. And then you have to look at the greater good. I'm being so selfish by worrying, what are they going to think of me if I hit record? What are they going to think of me if I make the ask? Where it should be flip the script. What could I do by making this ask? How could this change someone's life? Because if I don't ask, it's not going to happen.
Making it bigger than you.
Right. And everything in life, we internalize so much. It's not about us. Everyone's, interpreting it about them. Everyone is so selfish. That's what I say about videos. When they watch you, sure, they might critique you quickly, but they're thinking about what are you saying impacts them personally.
Yeah, how it affects them. People are typically not thinking about you. You know what they're thinking about? Themselves.
What's in it for me?
Right. Yeah. And I don't mean that in the most selfish way, the way it sounded, but it's true. It's
human nature.
We're both raising children. So, I have a 20-year-old. So I go, honey, they're not thinking about you. Okay. I'm just it's don't worry about what you're wearing, sweetheart. Everything's fine. You know what I mean? That kind
I've got 14-year-olds. So it's the most selfish age imaginable right now. So we'll get over the hump eventually. But right now, whew.
Yeah. Hey, can't thank you enough for spending time. I know the audience is going to get a lot out of this. Erin is a friend of HGA. We're so glad to have met you and to hear your story. Let's continue telling the story. Here's your invitation to come back and hang with us.
I like how it's not an ask, it's an invite.
100%. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I've already, well, I'm conditioned. You get like me, you start repeating the same thing over and over again.
Right.
But no, can't thank you enough. We're so glad to have met you, Erin. And then do the audience a favor and tell them the easiest way to find you, if you don't mind.
Yes, you can go to Giving for, the number 4, so givingforgoodevents.com. Also Giving for Good Events on social media. My Instagram handle, if you want to get on camera, has all kinds of great stuff on there. That's Erin Kienzle. It's a little harder to spell, but if you search like Erin Video Marketing, I usually come up.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey. Oh, actually, yeah. I did see some of your Instagram stuff. I love the one where you put the Post-it note over the screen of the camera, and so that way you're just looking right into the camera. That's a little. See, it already impacted me, and it was free. So.
Free content.
No, it's really good. I appreciate it so much, Erin. Like I said, thanks so much. It's been great to meet you. As mentioned, hopefully we'll do it again. And yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope we got a lot out of it. Yeah, no problem at all. Hey, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you don't mind, if you got any value out of it, please leave a comment or a question below. And if you're in a binging mood, we've got an HGA playlist of all of our podcasts and webinars that you can watch at any time. If you have a specific question about a certain fundraising topic, we're HGA. We've probably covered it. So take a look at the playlist, and we'll see you all next time.